Okay, good morning. You see candles inevitably, they're doing their thing, which you already know, what it symbolizes. No, you cannot. And it's amazing that I still get like the messages probably from Israelis because they are the ones that are so bold. To say, yes, send us the stuff. The semen. That's what we want. Like I didn't understand it like years ago. No, no. Why? Because so many reasons. I don't know where to start. But I've spoken about it so much that if you don't want to listen, just don't. But don't talk to me as well. No, you can't get it. No, no, no. No, you can. No, of course you can torture me. It's what you do. Always, you always do it. But it's not going to help you. Get rich or die trying. No. I should. You really think that I should be under arrest, like false arrest, all my life, or in prison, just give you my semen like a farm animal? Why? Why should I accept this horrible fate, like destiny? In what way do you think that I'm inferior to you? Look at you. Look at all of you. So no, the only way that a female Titan, or perhaps even of some Homo sapiens, but I don't think that they are that I will ever want to speak with such a person. But female Titan, the only way if she wants to eat the semen, then let's be very blunt about it, so there will be no misunderstanding, is to suck my dick. And this will never happen in Israel, because I am a monk in Israel. Yes. And I've spoken about the reason why many times. If you don't want to listen, it's your thing, your issue, your problem. But no, I cannot and would not and will not and should not have any kind of romantic or sexual relationship in Israel, including the aforementioned dick sucking, which is a prerequisite for a female Titan to eat my semen, because I do not sell it. And I don't expect the people of Israel to actually understand it, because understanding is not one of their strong traits. Friendship. So yesterday, I've spoken with my family that they all betrayed me, and I've also said that I cut, connection with all my friends that I had in the past, because they are all Judas Iscariot, and of course, wise guys. Prompted with the Pavlovian response. Israelis are expert in psychology. That's their thing, psychology. So it's you. It's. Do you think that it's possible that all your friends were so bad? Only you are so good. It's childish, and you divert criticism, and you divert valid comments from other people, because you are so you are yourself, you are an egoist, and you like to think and speak about yourself and your own mental and spiritual, so-called spiritual experiences, and you're not really open to the emotional existence of other people. And as you grow older, you're not that young anymore, and and these kind of traits, autistic traits, are they're known to get stronger and stronger. So the fact that you cut relationship with all your friends is to the fact that you gradually, not in a more serious way, but you developed a classical second type B personal disorders, specifically narcissism and antisocial behavior. So, and this is your problem. And you are old enough to accept the fact that that's the way you are. Maybe it's good for you, and maybe you should stay like that. But don't. Do you think that it's that it's justified to actually blame all your friends throughout all your life with demonic or satanic presumably actions, instead of just admit the fact that you yourself, you are a little bit of you're not psychopath, but you have a very you develop, you always had antisocial behaviors or behavioral patterns, and this is getting stronger with age, and I mean, and it leads you to I mean, and it creates a growing rift between you and like normative persons, and that's the reason why you cut all relations with your friends, or they cut it with you. How accurate was it? Probably 100%, right? Israelis are expert on psychology. They are so good. The Nazi guards in Israel, they have this thing about them that they not only like kill your children in front of you and kill you and cannibalize on your corpse, they also, I mean, teach you psychology. That's what's so special about the Israeli death camp. But I mean, for the sake of perhaps even a future listener that might have been think to himself, maybe I mean this devil argument, this satanic and barbaric, presumably intellectual, but in reality demonic and brutal and aggressive line of thought that you just described. I mean, can you perhaps just, I mean, for the sake of, clarity, I mean, address at least some of it? I mean, because, I mean, you know that, I mean, and you've also didn't speak, like, much about your friends, I mean, during, like, the time that you, I mean, discussed your life in like, mythological and realistic ways, and, like, in half mythological, half realistic ways. I mean, it was the Evernote phase of my journey. You spoke a lot about your family and a lot about, I mean, your romantic relationship, but not much about like male friends and buddies. And so maybe address the issue, I mean, what really happened here? Are all Israelis so bad? Does it make sense? Can it be theoretically possible? Or perhaps, I mean, you do, it's your fault, because, I mean, or perhaps fault is not the correct term. It's your, I mean, it's your responsibility, and you should admit the fact that, I mean, that's the way you are. Okay. So, challenge accepted. I will address the issue. I will address the satanic and demonic argument. And I will do it by elaborating on my relationship with one specific friend. And in order to make it hard on me, I wanted to make it more difficult for me. I don't want it to be easy. I mean, I really accept your challenge accepted, and I want to stand in the challenge in its top difficulty level. Because, I mean, it's easy to just, I mean, speak about, I mean, like, superficial friends. And you know what? I will perhaps start with general description of what I say when I speak about superficial friends. And, I mean, they're disgusting. I mean, they're all part of the Israeli intelligence, and were part of the Israeli intelligence. And so perhaps devote like a minute or two to speak about them. But, I mean, the bulk of this video will be, I mean, the subject of the bulk of this video will be not just a friend or former friend, but a person that I can say sincerely that, I mean, during all my life, he was one of the person that, I mean, I held the most respect, like, ever in my life. And I during, I mean, the time of our friendship, the years of our friendship, I really thought of him as not only a close friend, but really an admirable person. And I do not say that lightly. I do not pick these words lightly. I really liked him, and I thought that I learned a lot from him, and that I thought that our time together, as flatmates, were one of the not only because of him, but other reasons as well. But one of the happier epochs or eras of my life. And anyone who knows me now can guess. It's not that difficult to know who is the guy. This is Jonathan Brown, a person that I really admired, and he was also a very close friend. And for 3 years, he was my flatmate in Jerusalem. Yes, this story, I mean, TLDR, this story ends horribly. But on purpose, I picked the most admirable of all. So as I said, maybe it's a good idea to start describe in general, just in general terms, the superficial friends. So it goes like that. I mean, all the people that were trying to be like to win my friendship during my life, they were all of them accepted money from intelligence agencies from abroad. That's the way my life was constructed. So people just, they got money just, to play, like, to come to my house and, I don't know, play PlayStation. Even though it's not a realistic example because I didn't have PlayStation. But, that's the way it was. I was like Richie Rich from the movie that I didn't see, but I understand that it's like that. But as opposed to him, I was never rich at all. And more than that, the fact that they accepted money in order just to be in my vicinity doesn't mean that they treated me right. On the contrary, they abused me in any way possible. This might be trivial to people of the intelligence community, but for other people, it might not be that trivial. But so it should be stated, people like myself that is guarded by the Yehidat Hatishim, like the unit that is also like protects the prime minister, they do not get any perks like in life or good treatment. On the contrary, people treating like shit. The way that they actually get money from the government and through channels from foreign government by actually protecting me or be with me or I don't know, do whatever with me, doesn't mean that they treat me right. On the contrary, they treated me all my life like a scumbag. And they outdone each other by how to treat me wrong and how to, abuse me and to take like immoral benefits of me in any way possible. The fact that, all the logistics around me, probably cost millions, each year for the taxpayer, doesn't mean that I get those millions. I didn't get anything. People, the country, Israel only took money from me all my life and purposely made me poor the way that I am today. So this is the general, the general population of friends that I had during my life were people like, scumbags from the intelligence community, mostly pedophiles and homosexuals that received money in order to, I don't know, just to be in my vicinity and to play, to momentary play like they are my friends, which means to take advantage of me in any way possible. That was my life. It was a horrible life. But I met a friend which was really, really different. And I want to speak a couple of minutes about the guy, Jonathan Brown. Of course, we all know the end of the story, so it's difficult not to be cynical. But during the time of my friendship with him, I wasn't cynical about him at all. I met him when I was 18 in like a programming course in the IDF. And we kept like for a very loose touch, like in the next six years when he served in my mom and I served in the intelligence corps and when we got discharged, we both wanted to study in Jerusalem. Actually, I started here before him, so the first year I lived with two other flatmates, and then when he arrived at Jerusalem, we immediately we made contact, and we found that we really like on the same head, as they say, and we rented a very large apartment in Rehavia, like very old one, like 100 years old, and many times people like came to visit us, and like we like in Shabbats and not Shabbat, like holidays and whatever, and we even arranged parties, and it was 3 years that I lived with him. Was really at the time I thought of it as a really wonderful. Like I knew nothing about the real situation. Of course, he belongs to the intelligence community, of course, and but I didn't know nothing about it. And I considered it like a relatively happy era of my life. I had like it's those years. Of course, I devoted a lot of time to studying in the university, but also partying and I had girlfriends and several short-term sexual relations with all sorts of like girls from the university, and I mean, and he was a really special person. Like me, he came from a religious background, and he kept, more than I kept, like connection to orthodoxy, but he was really critical. He was really, he wanted religion to be more like a spiritual thing, and there was some, in retrospect, I can say that, maybe even I can say that, I found like even several like Christian, motives in his belief, like the way that it was more important for him, like, not like the ceremony, but the actual, like, the meaning and things like that. And we had, it's even difficult to actually explain why, we had a good connection, because it's something very intellectual. Intellectually, we were very compatible, and the only thing that was a little bit weird about him was the fact that, he didn't really, it seemed to me that, I didn't understand why. It seemed that he doesn't really show, enough interested in girls. As I said, for me, it was a time of like, it was, the most sexually, like, I dated like other students and girls that I met online, and we had sex, and and he seemed that it wasn't really, it wasn't really his thing. I didn't understand why. But actually, at that point of my life, I didn't understand anything about my reality, but actually, I already have a little bit of like, it wasn't that peculiar for me, because when I look back on my life, I found that several good friends from the military or like other places, they were also like that. Which is, I found it peculiar, but I actually, at the time, I attributed this phenomenon to the fact that I come from a religious background, so I thought, okay, maybe the religious, they took their religious education too hard, and they I don't know, they fear to like start, they don't like to. They feel like, they have like phobia from expressing their sexuality and like their passion towards women. And also, and on top of that, I was also always very nerdish. Like, I myself, I wasn't like, as I said, during this time, I didn't act like a nerd at all. I was actually, pretty outgoing, and again, I didn't have a problem, like, start like with, ask women and things like that. But throughout my life, I always was part of like nerd groups. So, and I knew that without relation to religion, they seemed that they to show less overt like sexual interest in women, and of course they were more shy, and if you combine the two, the Orthodox background and the nerd background, so I thought, okay, that's why, quite a bit of my friends throughout my life were like that. So Jonathan Brown was also like that. Yes, of course, you know the real reason and the real answer to this conundrum, but of course, yes, it is, yes. I know the way that you think, my audiences, so I wish I just say it. Even though I don't know why I need to say it, but that's the way that you think, so let's just clear it off the table. We never had anything remotely, Jonathan Brown, anything remotely like nothing at all like physical, and never showed physical interest in one another. We were just two flatmates, like, and good friends. That's all. Yes, it's possible. It still happens today. Yes, it can happen. Okay. And yes, during those 3 years, he did date several like girls from all from religious background. But it seemed to me that he doesn't like take it like seriously enough, and also, at several like occasions, I was like, I kind of like, I remember like, I blindly asked him, don't you, I mean, she looks okay. Don't you want to fuck her? I mean, it seems like she's like, she's totally like, I mean, that's the age, you know. That's the age to do it. I don't know. I don't remember what he answered, but I mean, it wasn't like, it was a very rare, like, subject of conversation. I mean, we usually spoke about, politics and religion, and social criticism and philosophy, movie critics, things like that. I really liked him. And again, several of my friends, like, I mean, from like previous groups, like social groups, I mean, were like became somewhat like friends. I mean, they developed some friendship with him, and the other way around. And as I said, many people like came like to our apartment, which was very big, and it was fun to just be in it. And yeah, we did some weed, yes. I mean, more than a bit of alcohol, yes. So what? It was fun. So after 3 years, I had a very serious girlfriend, and I wanted to move with her, so I left the apartment, but I stayed like with good, still with good like friendship with him. And after like a year and a half, we broke apart, and after some time, I met my future wife, Einbal, and just moved to another apartment in Jerusalem. And at about the same time, he met a girl named Amalia Schenwald. Remember the name Amalia Schenwald? Amalia Schenwald, from religious background. And almost instantly, they decided that they need to get married. It was very quick, even for like people from the Orthodox community. Yes, of course. I mean, in retrospect, I understood. I mean, that's like a sort of thing that I've seen later in my life, and again, like the very quick marriages that they do not really, characterize specifically religious people. They characterize people of the intelligence organizations of Israel. But I knew nothing about it at the time. So I married my own wife, and he married his. Pretty closely, and also even other friends of ours. Coincidentally or not, married at the same time, and he had a child, and I had 2 daughters, and when I kept like a good. Of course, we weren't as close as when we were flatmates, but we remained. We both lived in Jerusalem, and our life paths, were like kept like being in parallel. So we kept like pretty good like friendship, and it's all ended when I got divorced. Like at the beginning of my divorce, we just completely. Since then we almost never spoke, maybe once or twice, and that's it. And I took it on myself. Like I thought maybe the divorce was horrible, and I thought maybe it's me. Because I used to always take the blame on me, but it's not true. Reality is much worse than you currently think. Whatever you think right now, you are going to be surprised, because reality is much worse than that. I should say it right now. Don't develop any expectations of like even remotely good ending to this story. Whatever I said, I stand by it. That's the way that I felt at the time. But keep listening, guys. It's not what you think, it's much worse than that. I don't know what you think, but it's much worse than that. It's much more disgusting than what you currently think. So I took the blame on myself. I thought, okay, the divorce was, difficult, and it was extremely difficult, both like logistically and for so many reasons. I thought that I couldn't like handle like the friendship, and and it's just, I mean, got loosened and never came back to what it was, and never came back to anything actually. So that's the way I conceptualize it, and I was actually a little bit of sorry about it, but because, I mean, I've lost like a very, very good person, a friend and a person that I really admired. But I mean, life goes the way that they are, and he kept, like, I mean, presumably living in Jerusalem, and I, as you know, moved to Shoam with my wife, with my ex-wife. I mean, in like a court arranged like a settlement, and Shoam is a place in the center, like a town in the center of Israel, and so, I mean, presumably, I mean, what I had of him is mostly good memories. I should also say that, I mean, we both had, at the time, we shared our interest in writing. I really liked to write at the time, like, I mean, artistically. I didn't paint at all at the time, it's something that I do today, but I wrote in several, like, mediums, and he also wrote, like, blogs and things like that. And I mean, we also always read, I mean, what the person what each other like writing. Our styles were very different. My style were very humoristic and like contrived and like I mean, even when I try to be like more like to write from my heart and to be very like naturalistic and like with good heart. I always like, I mean, like strands of cynicism and mockery, or always like find a way into the text, like a bit of sorry to say, I don't want it to sound like too grandiose, but like, I mean, in a way like Mark Twain, I would say. And he was much more like, I mean, even when he tried to be very critical, he was always very like, I mean, he really wrote from the heart, like in a very like many times touching way, like, I mean, without like, reservations that, I mean, are so common for people today. I still see, I mean, I was like, because I was subscribed to this blog, I still get from time to time, like, I mean, messages that something new was, I mean, published. I don't really read it anymore, but a couple of days ago, I mean, he published something. It was about Leila Seder, and it's really, I mean, it's like him, such a sweet person. I mean, people, I mean, of our age, I mean, you are 40 now, and people's jobs and kids, I mean, usually they don't have like the mental capacity or the time or the inclination to actually write a blog post about, I mean, like experience in the Leila Seder and to derive also like, I mean, conclusions about religion from that and social commentary, and it's so sweet, and really, it's really, I mean, it's so Jonathan Brown. Like the struggle with religion, I mean, the knowledge that it will all, it's something very important for him, like Jewish orthodoxy and halacha, but also in the same time, I mean, the fact that it's not really him, and for him, religion is important, but for really much more. Excuse me for being cynical, but for much more, because it's true. The way, I mean, the gist of it is what I say now is true. But at the same time, in a very Israeli way, this is Satan. So yeah, I mean, it's still true that, I mean, really, I mean, his concept of his concept of religion was, I mean, it's thrived for like for God and for being good. And I identified with it then, and of course I identified with it today, as you know. During the year 2019, many things happened, and I always refer to it as the start of my journey. I worked in MyHeritage, the company is called MyHeritage, and I've written about it many times and spoke about it a lot. That this was the start of my journey. This was the time when I understood my life is different from others. Something incredibly like off is going on, and I need to, I mean, and no one is going to help me. People will always lie to me. I cannot get any answer directly, and I need to be close to God and to ask God for mercy and for His guidance and help, so I will be able to make sense of life and perhaps fulfill a mission that I now understand that I must have, because God helps me. And I mean, Of course, I have a mission just need to understand what it is. That's what I thought, and so during that 2019. Many things happened. I mentioned things that happened at work, but it was not like limited to work alone. For example, something that I understood during this year, I don't really remember when, perhaps during the middle of 2019, was quite remarkable. But I thought about it a lot, and it was the only possible conclusion, remarkable as it was. I remember that when I reached a conclusion, it was after the final conclusion came to me after I trained in Olympic weightlifting at the time, and after a good training of Olympic weightlifting, and I sat on the car and I understand that it must be it, and I drove home and just drank a bottle of Jack Daniels or something like that, because it was so overwhelming. And really, during 2019, I was always one step from alcoholism. Because of that and other things as well. But I'm very sensitive to words and to text, especially in Hebrew, naturally in Hebrew. And during the year 2019, I ultimately understood that without a shred of a doubt, it's impossible that my ex-wife, Inbal Ben Moshe, and I should mention that at the time, we shared joint custody over two very young daughters, and we always had we were in constant connection, communication, and it was actually like that until my arrest, during last December, and it was it was like it. Throughout almost all the life of our daughters, that they hear and they with me and they with her, and especially with regard to small children, there is a lot to speak about, so we had constant communication, and I understood that without a doubt, it's impossible that Inbal Ben Moshe, the person that I knew, the person that was my wife, writes the emails that I accept from Inbal Ben Moshe, presumably from the email address of Inbal Ben Moshe. I understood that it cannot be the case, and I looked back, I analyzed the text back, and understood that it was never actually the case. And I understood that it's even possible to actually, you don't need a computer, a textual analysis computer. Some would argue that I am a textual analyzer, text analyzer computer. Okay, very funny, but you don't really need it. In order to reach the conclusion, you need proficiency with the language, and also not only the language, but also the fonts and all sorts of stuff. A lot of stuff that I understood that I can actually say when it was Inbal that actually wrote the message and when it was other people, and it was amazing, but it couldn't be any other way. And I gathered many evidence, and I understood you cannot, even though it sounds crazy, it's the only thing that explained the situation. As in Sherlock Holmes, the fictional Sherlock Holmes said famously, if there is a theory that sounds very unlikely, extremely unlikely, but it's the only theory that explains evidence, then it must be correct, even though it's so unlikely. So I understood, for some crazy reason, the woman that I married, there is at least one person, probably more than, I thought that it was more than one, of course I was right, that actually writes their mail. And there was so much evidence for it, and so I understood it must be it, and it hit me very hard, and really, it really contributed to my almost alcoholistic behavior at the time. But of course, it wasn't the only thing, and when combined with other things, I understand that I am the target of the intelligence community of Israel, and my ex-wife had operators, and it's extremely humiliating. And I remember that I said, okay, maybe I know several of the operators. I don't know much about intelligence, but I understood that, it's very possible that I actually know the operators because of the way that, cells work. And so I read, and she wrote me many mails, some very lengthy. So I had a lot of, text to work with, and And it was very evident for me that at least one of the operators, if not the main one, but one of the persons that guides her or like send her commands and all the writes her mails was for certain. I was 100% certain about it, and I also wrote it to her that it is no other than Amalia Schenwald. So let me explain what actually happened here. Of course, the man, was a pedophile scumbag. All of the intelligence community, and he served not only as my friend but also as my tutor, because of course I need tutor. And I didn't know it because he wasn't really like it, but he accepted money for it. Part of the Little Prince saga. Now, I dined on the table of this family, of the Brown Schenwald family, and I thought of them as dear friends, and this woman was operating my wife. She knew everything that goes between us, and she also directed the divorce, which was horrible and cruel, especially toward my children to that day, and she directed it. She wrote mails to court. She did everything. While at the same time, holding fancy the dinners in their house and inviting me as as a dear friend, while she's ruining my life and the life of my daughters, and trying to send me to mental hospital and whatever not, and of course false police claims and no, Inbal couldn't have done it without her. She operated it, and I understood it from textual analysis that the person that wrote all those texts to the court and to me and whatever is Amalia Schenwald and not Inbal Ben Moshe. The wife of a person that I admired so much. Of course, he knew about it. And now you need to understand how this actually works, and I didn't understand it right away, but in retrospect, I can shed some light if you don't really understand what's going on. So, of course, the man was a pedophile, under treatment, probably. So, no, he didn't had much interest in women, and probably, sex was not on the table for him at all. This was an arranged marriage with a woman that worked for the Israeli intelligence. Now, what's her interest here? For some time it was actually, a difficult question for me, because so why should she marry, a guy that on the surface level was a very good match, they both came from the same social, they on a very on surface level they matched, but they didn't really match, but they couldn't match because the sexuality was not part of the relationship. I remember that on one rare occasion when he spoke to me about women and things like that, he said something that it's not that important how the woman the future wife looks, and you shouldn't put too much care on, emphasize on it, because it doesn't really matter. You should also and you understand those. It's so common to actually hear those lectures from pedophiles and homosexuals of Israeli intelligence community. No, it's very important how she looks, and you should be attracted to her. Otherwise, you are doing very evil deed for her to get married with someone that you are not attracted to. But why do they care? They are homosexual fuckers, and most of them are pedophiles. So for him, it was a good arrangement. Married this woman. And he doesn't really care what she's doing, and I mean, he can play guitar. I forgot to mention a very important aspect of Jonathan Brown. He was a gifted musician, and he played the guitar and also other instruments, and he had a huge like a collection of albums, and with the way I listened to a lot of it, and really I've learned a lot about music from him. A wonderful person, and also played, I mean, piano, and he bought like a piano, especially like a pretty good one, just for the student apartment that we shared. I mean, it was, I mean, so he likes music, and I mean, religion and social commentary. He's not into sex, why? So yeah, I mean, what do we care what this woman is doing? And it's nice to have a woman that, works for the government, and, things pretty easy. And he was never very materialistic. He didn't want to be rich. So he had like a nice, good job in the bank, and, good life, and a lot of time to devote to his like many hobbies. He always had much more like free time than me, I remember. And I didn't like envy him. I mean, he deserved the free time because he's such a sweet spirit. I mean, free time was invented for people like him, not for people like me that, I mean, all their life worked their asses, and all their life, I mean, had to put maximum effort and against and increasingly impossible like challenges. And no matter how fast you run, you need always to increase your speed just to keep being in the same place. To borrow from Lewis Carroll. I mean, so I thought, okay, that's my destiny. And it was clear to me at the time, and it's only got like more pronounced with the years, that my destiny is a destiny of struggle. I don't understand why, but that's the way that I am. And his destiny is life of leisure, and I actually admired it. I didn't admit I admired it. A life of leisure. What's her stake in it? Why would she agree? So, obviously, when they recruit like all sorts of like young women, of course, her profession was, she was a psychologist, like many of them, and they really liked those professions. Social workers, psychologists. When they recruit them, they don't say everything to them, but I mean, options are like arise, I mean, with service. And she reached like, I mean, the age of 30, which is not that young by the standards of Orthodox community that, I mean, she belonged to. And she had like relationships and several sexual relationships. He wasn't like, she was, I mean, he wasn't like the, but okay, yeah, there are such women, but. And she wanted a husband, and it was convenient for her. And what about sex? So first, she can have free sex with all her, like, many exes, and her husband doesn't give a crap about it. And I remember actually that, I mean, from like a pretty like late, like, era of our friendship, when we already didn't like live together, but I remember that, I mean, he was married to her, and for sometimes she just, I mean, kept like, went like from things that to me looked like dates with other men, and I mean, it was very peculiar, and he didn't care at all, even like, I mean, he was totally like supportive of it. And I thought about, I mean, and all, I mean, again, I attributed it, I mean, so maybe this guy is just, I mean, he's so good, I mean, he's just a free spirit, and a person of, like, he deserves a life of leisure, not a life of worrying like what my wife is doing. And he trusted her, and I mean, yeah, it's his destiny to be so, like, to have such a convenient life. Of course, all that happened while he was planning with his wife my cool divorce, and endless, like, I mean, court, I mean, orders, and actually, they planned. Actually, I have to say that, I mean, it's important that Inbal actually took, I mean, forcibly and against the law, took our daughters when they were just babies to Haifa, like 135 kilometers from Jerusalem, and it was 2 months for me. I mean, brutal, like, I mean, really, I mean, like, mentally brutal court struggle to get them back to Jerusalem, and eventually they did. And I mean, until I got like joint custody, it was, I was like a destroyed person, and it took me a lot of time to actually recuperate from it. But it was all worth it, just to raise my daughters as they deserve, and it's my duty. And this son of a bitch, Satan, with his satanic wife, actually were the choreographers of all these events. But wait, it doesn't stop here. So let's get to the question of what's Er's take on such a relationship. So actually, first of all, we should say that, I mean, from a superficial, point of view, her life is somewhat resembles the life of my mother, actually. But of course, my mother is, it belongs to a previous generation. But it's actually not the case. They're both psychologists, and came from religious background, and they were hostile towards the religious background, and when they were young, they strive for sexual freedom, but this is actually, reality is more complicated because my mother, when she was at this age of Amalia, when I knew her, and earlier than that, it was a different time, and let's not speak about my mother, but what I want to say is that presumably I understood Amalia, but I didn't understand it at all. Because I understood it, she's somewhat, I draw the lines to my mother, especially from the point of view of struggle with the orthodoxy, but of women that felt oppressed, but I didn't understood, of course, in retrospect, you could say, of course, they both belong to the intelligence community. And they both married pedophiles, but for different reasons. Because my mother, I spoke about it a lot already. It's not the same case. But it all revolves around Titans and their genocide and enslavement. So yes, first of all, she can, and she did date and have sex. Never mind that. She looked like completely religious with her handkerchief. I don't remember how they said the name of the things that they put on their head, and of course Shabbos, and everything. Yeah, totally. All Brat Hamazon, Birkat Hapo, Birkat Hashem, and feel prayers and things, and also fuck whatever she wants. Outside of marriage, and with this totally supportive, sweet husband. But also she had another very, very, very important perk, which we will do injustice by not mentioning it. She, like other people of the Israeli community, tennis community specifically, mostly the women, because men tend to be pedophiles and homosexuals. She has the privilege of having free sexual relationships, however and whenever she wants, with female titans that are slaves. And as we know, they can even change their gender, their sex to male. And I call this, in the past I called this phenomenon the phenomenon of wizards, and I spoke about it, but I don't want to repeat myself, even though it's very interesting. So yeah, that's also something that operators can do. How fun. Yeah, it's of course it's not statutory rape, it's just bona fide rape. It's rape. But it's a rape that is not only allowed by the Israeli government, but is encouraged by the government for many years now. So if she wanted, she could have raped Inbal Ben Moshe, my wife, my ex-wife. I don't know. Of course, she wanted many times. She told me that she's attracted to her as well, because that's the way she was. She had no limits. I didn't know what to do, how to process this information, so I didn't answer. But yeah, that's the way they are, the operators and the scumbags of Israeli intelligence. They have no limits. Did she rape her? Maybe, I don't know. Yes, bisexualism is extremely prevalent in the Israeli intelligence community among females. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's in their DNA to be sexual. I don't know. I don't even want to get into it, because it's not the issue. And I don't want you to concentrate on pseudo-conservative versus liberal issues, when the actual issue is the issue of rape and murder and genocide. And of course, betrayal of the most horrible kind between friends. Of course, he was not my friend. He was there to write, horrible accounts of me, like all the rest of the people that knew me. And I didn't say, but it's, of course, it comes with all my acquaintances always lied about me, and he as well. This sweet soul. When the bosses in the Shabak told them like to write that I'm homosexual, he just did it. What the fuck? Of course, he knew it was not right, but why not? Why not? Ruin my life in such a horrible way. Why not? And his lovely wife, Orthodox wife, with the handkerchief, raping, slaves and operating them and doing whatever she wants because she belongs to the master race in Israel. And of course, he didn't keep connection with me during the divorce. He was, he coordinated with her the divorce. And after that, even for a person, like for an Israeli person, it was just too much to actually resume this, like, friendship. This horror story, ladies and gentlemen, is interesting because of the fact that, its protagonist or antagonist, main character, is really a person that is actually admirable in many ways. And I stand by those words. A Satan, but an admirable Satan. So you ask me, is it possible that all the Israelis, all your friends were such assholes? Do you even found it theoretically possible? So I say, it is the fact. It doesn't matter if it's theoretically possible because it is a fact, empirical fact. All of them were scumbags. The only thing that was different was to what extent. And I described to you the person that I admired the most, but also the person that was, dealt with the most damage and did it in the most horrible way. Other people were just, less, contrived and more just, acted from plain greed and was disgusting and rude. But, all of them were horrible, yes, that's the fact. All the people that were my friends or who knew me, all of them belong to the intelligence community, and they all, from the first to the last one, are bad human beings. Some are wicked and cruel and deserve any punishment from God. But all of them were bad people. That's the way it is. It doesn't matter if it's theoretically possible because it is reality.